Hello, everybody. This is Jack.
Hi, I'm Nick.
All right. So, if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're not new to the show, hello. How are you? We did not see you there. Okay.
Yeah, people
So,
get confused. You'd be
yes.
surprised at how many people think that we could see them.
Yes. So, this is the official very first Jack and Nick commentary. We are going to do a commentary for a movie that everybody should have in their collection, or you may not have it in your collection, but it's one that you can easily access, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors.
Right. I mean, obviously, we picked one that we love and that we hope you love and that we hope that everybody loves. And this is going to be our first of this. I almost feel a little bit nervous, like we're starting over again at something. But we've wanted to do one of these for quite some time. And now we're finally sitting down and taking the hour and a half or so to do it.
Right.
So,
And it's gonna. I have a feeling it's gonna be fun. Right now, this is not part of the commentary, so if you're listening and going, "Wait, do I start it now?" No, we're gonna give you instructions on what to do. So go ahead and get your trusty DVD, your digital copy, or your Blu-ray, or your VHS of Dream Warriors, and cue it up. And where we're gonna cue it up to is not the New Line logo, because it's my understanding, just in case too, that the New Line symbol symbol the new
the signature, the thing that starts at the beginning goes da 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 da.
Yeah, it flashes, but that could be confusing. So, and then there's the other one that rolls, and we're not going to get into that.
And the old videotape ones are different if someone is actually watching on video, which who knows.
Right.
So if you bought a Walmart one, it could go, hey, let's watch Voodoo first. Then you're like, God damn it. Right. So we're all going to line up at the same point.
Yes, and that point is the Edgar Allan Poe quote. That is, sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them. Right when that comes up, hit pause. That's where we're going to start. So if you want to cue it up to there now, you can. We'll give you a moment because we're just going to talk for a moment, and then we're going to start it. Once we start the commentary, if you choose to... I know Nightmare on Elm Street 3 does not have a commentary on Blu-ray or DVD or digital or nothing. So we're doing one for you. So if you love to put commentaries over movies and watch them later, you're more than welcome to have this commentary and do that for free. We're not going to charge you for it. Isn't that nice of us, Nick?
Oh, how nice.
All right. So
what nice guys we are.
Before we begin, because we don't want to crowd up the commentary, even though we're not... Oh, yeah, by the way, the type of commentary you're going to listen to, this is not going to be we know everything about Nightmare on Elm Street 3. There is a documentary out called Never Sleep Again, which I highly recommend. It covers the entire series. There's a book that covers the first one, which is even better than the documentary. And, I mean, there's tons of features on the Blu-ray and whatnot, except no commentary. But this is the Jack and Nick show, and Jack and Nick are very chill. We are two assholes, as we have said before. Nick really takes offense to the word asshole.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's okay. But, Nick, before we begin, I want to know your first experience with this movie.
Man, I had seen this movie like way back in the day when I was first getting into slashers. I don't know if I rented it first or saw it on like marathon on USA's Up All Night or something like that. But I definitely saw it in my formative years of slasher watching, and it has stuck with me. It is actually one of my favorite movies, like, period. And not just horror movies. Like, horror movies, it might be my third or fourth favorite, probably in the top 5 or top 10. I really love this movie, even though I mean, yeah, there's a lot of corny stuff in this movie that if it came out now, you'd be like, what is that? But still, I really enjoy it.
Well, my very first experience with this, you're going to be very jealous of.
Let me guess, you saw it in the theater.
I sure did. Well, wait a second. I did not see the first one nor the second one in the theater. I heard about the first one and the second one from a friend in elementary school. and he had seen them, and he said, "Yeah, the second one was funny." And I'm like, "Really? It looks really terrifying." The first one, we all know that. Second one, I grew to love over more and more as the years progressed. But the third one, Dream Warriors it changed horror, honestly. It did. We'll get to that during the commentary, but I did see it in the theater, and guess what, Nick? I saw it opening night in a sold-out theater in Springfield, Pennsylvania. So if anybody's from that area, you know the theater I'm talking about, where they only had 2 screens. And this is where I saw Gremlins in the theater, and you name it. I saw pretty much the 80s in the Springfield Theater, McDade, you name it. But, Nick, the crowd was like, it was like watching a movie. Like, the best way to see a horror movie is with a sold-out crowd where there is reaction to what's going on, and they're into the movie, not making fun of it. And that's exactly what happened during this. I went in, I was terrified. I went there with my brother and his friends, and I was just ready to be scared. This was 87, so I was in, 7th grade, and I let horror consume me, and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 really catapulted my love of horror. Because this is the same year that I bought I was into Fangoria, Maximum Overdrive cover, that one is the one that started it all. So 1987 was like a big year in horror for me, and this pretty much changed my life. That movie going experience changed everything. So we're going to get into this cool flick.
So a formative movie for both of us in our opinions on horror. So it's a good touchstone and milestone for both of us in our viewing. And now here we are doing our first commentary, and it is that movie. And
when we're going to do this, we're going to count it down. So as I said, cue up your DVD or whatever to Sleep, Those Little Slices of Death, How I Loathe Them, right when it appears, hit pause. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, and play. And then that's when we're going to start this. So, Nick, are you on board?
Yes, I am now looking at the thing has just come up, the Edgar Allan Poe quote, and I'm ready to push play.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we go into it, or we'll just go right into this?
This may not actually be an Edgar Allan Poe quote.
We'll find out. No,
I don't think we will find out.
No, we'll look it up.
Okay.
No, we're not going to. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have a brief pause for those of you who are listening to this and want to queue up something, like, say, you want to stop all the bullshit that we just gave you and want to start recording the commentary soon. So we're going to give it 5 seconds. Okay. That was a fast 5 seconds, but that's good enough for you. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, play.
All right. Movie is going.
So I still see Sleep. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Jack and Nick commentary for Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors from New Line Cinema and Smart Egg Pictures. We're not going to read it.
Don't read every word. We're not going to read
the
Robert Shea, who's married to...
No, that's his sister. Lynn Shea is his sister. So,
Dream Warriors. And notice I said the word Dream Warriors without singing it, which was very polite of me.
Now, paper mache, was that a big thing when you were younger, Nick?
I remember paper mache. Do they still use paper mache in schools and stuff? I don't even know. I know
my brother and my mom used to do this all the time, and I just could never figure it out.
It looks delicious.
It's not, I'm sure.
I know.
So, anyway, the current hands that you're watching are of possibly Patricia Arquette, of the Arquette family. There you go. Knowledge, baby.
Why is it actually her? instead of like a hand double.
It could be a hand. I think it is a hand double. Normally they don't use actors for hand shit because it's a waste of time. So it's probably like a PA or somebody, but who knows? We are not looking at IMDb trivia tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is all right off the cuff. So you may
or stuff we heard when we watched Never Sleep Again, the incredible documentaries thing from that came out with a bundled set of all the movies. It's in fact it's sold individually now, and if you like Freddy movies, you actually have to watch that.
Well, of course. Now
no, you must.
Well, there you just saw that was Patricia Arquette's face. They didn't have a face double for her. So I really wanted to build this house after I saw this movie, but then I noticed how much work that was put into it, so I did not do that. All right, so Nick, did you know that this is? Oh, by the way, Rachel Talalay, she did Freddy's Dead. Patricia Arquette's first movie ever, right here. It's her very first acting experience.
Right. Oh, well, watching her eat that.
Now later on, you'll hear her scream like a little 3-year-old mouse. A lot. Now, the upsetting part is that the song that you're hearing is not Dream Warriors. We have to wait till the end of the movie for that. Spoiler alert. This is Into the Fire by some band. It could be Dokken.
No, I think it's also from Dokken. It's actually now the theme song to NWA Power, the YouTube wrestling TV show. So go watch that, and you'll hear that actual song as the theme song.
That is Brooke Bundy playing Mom, who looks like a typical 80s mom, 80s rich mom.
Did moms look like that in the 80s? I never experienced. I was only a kid in the 80s, so.
My mom kind of did. She had like the, she kind of had the poodle hair.
Oh yeah, my mom had poodle hair.
Yeah, a lot of girls I went to high school with had the poodle hair as well. But
it's weird that you could say that and everybody's like, "Yep, poodle hair," nodding along. Like that's a weird thing to agree with.
There's a weird connection though. Brooke Bundy here was also in a movie with Rodney Eastman, who plays Joey in this, in a. It's some kind of thing where it's like a funeral movie. I can't remember what the hell it is, where they resurrect bodies, and it has like Vic Tayback in it and Fred Korshin.
No idea what you're talking about.
The reason I'm mentioning this is because, speaking of mothers, my mom decked out our bathroom with a bunch of movie posters that she got from a local video store, and that was one of them. And I'm like, that's the kid from Dream Warriors on the poster.
Wow. So the music in this was done by Angelo Badalamenti, who did a lot of like the David Lynch movies, Lost Highway, and what do you call it, Mulholland Drive. I know this mostly because I actually have the Lost Highway soundtrack and have not seen the movie to this day.
Same with me. I bought that soundtrack and never watched it.
The soundtrack is awesome. It's got the Trent Reznor stuff on it, and
isn't Patricia Arquette in Lost Highway?
I never saw it.
I think she is.
He also did the music for the video game Indigo Prophecy. But if you don't live in America, that video game is called Fahrenheit. It's from the same people who made Beyond Two Souls and the Origami Killer game. What is that? Oh
yeah, the Hard Rain or Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain. Yeah, yes. I love that game. I love all those games, in fact. Well, not Beyond Two Souls, but that's not what we're talking about. Yes, okay, so we're watching a Freddy movie here, and I'm talking about Angelo Badalamenti a little too much.
So, as you know, this movie was the story was written by Wes Craven, and then Frank Darabont came in along with Chuck Russell and Bruce Wagner, and did some changes on this sumbitch. Yeah. And Wes Craven was not too thrilled about it, actually. He wasn't thrilled. He didn't want to do the sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street. He just thought of that as one movie, kind of like when he did Hills Have Eyes. He didn't want to do part 2, but he needed the money. So he did it, and he just made it like a goofy slasher movie. And I actually really like Hills Have Eyes too, but now... So the director of this is Chuck Russell, who, Nick, the crazy thing is that Chuck Russell went on to direct The Mask. Well, right after this, he did the Blob remake, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went on to do The Mask with Jim Carrey, which it's my understanding. I didn't look this up, but it's my understanding that that was filmed before Ace Ventura. Then Ace Ventura came out, was a big hit, and then they released The Mask, which is odd. So here's the weird thing about Chuck Russell. So he does that. Then he does Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bless the Child, the Scorpion King, that piece of junk, the Scorpion King. After that piece of junk happened, he did like Fringe and stuff, and like some bad movie with John Travolta in it. Right. And like he hasn't done anything really substantial since. But we all have faith that he possibly will again. Now, this scene scared the living shit out of me. I don't know why. It's, Nick, the thing about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies that's really cool as well, how dreams can really freak you out?
Right.
It's that the dream logic thing where even if you see something in real life that shouldn't be there, but it is, and it fucking freaks you out, this movie captures a lot of that magic.
Right. Even like what you see right here, where it's like you're trying to run, but you can't run.
Right.
Like those type of limitations and vulnerabilities come up so much in dreams. Like, you go to hit someone and your hand has no impact on them. And you're like, why? Yeah. Over and over again.
It's even the, I used to get sleep paralysis quite a bit. That terror's awesome. I got sleep paralysis where somebody was trying to kill me in my apartment and I couldn't wake up, but my eyes were wide open.
Right. You mean you were hallucinating that?
I was hallucinating that, but I was dreaming that while being asleep and I couldn't get up and move and wake up. That's absolutely terrifying, but I'm not going to go into my life. Okay, so...
Right.
So right now, you think everything's good? Nope. Sorry, we're gonna cut her wrist open and make it look like a suicide so she can go in with the other Dream Warriors. I'm totally spoiling this movie. And this is the joke that everybody says on every single commentary, and people listening to commentary right now are going, oh, if you haven't seen the movie, you shouldn't be listening to the commentary first. This is Dream Warriors. Everybody saw this movie. If you're listening to the commentary.
I'm pretty sure you saw this movie at least once in the past 35 years, kids.
Yes.
36 maybe.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep. There's her wrist bleeding like crazy, which great effects in this movie, by the way, as well. I have a bunch of stuff to tell you, but I'll wait till there's a couple of lull moments in this movie. Now, Lawrence Fishburne,
look,
and one of yes,
the big L-fish is here.
L-fish, and not Bill Maher, Craig Wasson. Lawrence Fishburne.
And Bill Maher. No, it's not Bill Maher.
Well, Craig Wasson.
I thought it was Bill Maher in this movie for a long time.
So did I. Until, I used to watch a show he was in called Hard Knocks, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not the same guy. But Craig Wasson was in Body Double. And for the ladies out there, if you want to see Craig Wasson's penis, go ahead and watch Ghost Story. There's Jennifer Rubin, who later on is in Bad Dreams. We'll talk about that later. Lawrence Fishburne, no. I can't remember her name. I'll look it up. She's nuts. Sorry. But this is like, let's just show you everybody all at once, which is cool. It's a good way to intro everybody. You know all the characters for the movie?
Yeah, but also, like, one thing that it does is it gives you a mental institution full of people, and they're not all just, like, comedically ridiculous caricatures like you see in movies like 12 Monkeys, for instance, where they're like, I wear slippers and go to space. No, it's not that. It's like, this is what mental illness is actually more like. Yeah. And I mean, the movie doesn't do a perfect job with it, but especially when you consider the time that this movie came out, it does a much better job than a lot of other horror movies have done over the years.
Where everybody's walking around going, they're going, ooh, like that's all they do. Right. Walk around like primates.
I hate that shit.
That was
I hate that shit, and I especially hate it when they make it. Oh, this person's the wacky, crazy person, and that's scary. No, it doesn't. That's not. I mean, unpredictability is one thing, but just wackiness is another.
Here comes the screaming. I was talking about the little mouse screaming. Now, when you watch this movie, that's all you're gonna hear it.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so shrill.
And
That girl,
I think that they just put like audio of it over her standing there.
the girl from earlier, not to be a dick, was I always say Penelope, thanks to Club Dread. Penelope Sudro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lawrence Fishburne, though, what I was saying, before this, he was in Apocalypse Now, and he was like 16 years old, and that he lied about his age to get in it, and he was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool story, bro.
And about the same time, he was also the cowboy on Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse.
Yes, Cowboy Curtis, correct. Yep. I actually went to a Pee Wee show, and Lawrence Fishburne was there watching it.
Really?
Yeah. They had, what's his name, play Cowboy Curtis. What's his name from Pulp Fiction that gets shot in the back of the car? Marvin. Yeah.
Marcus.
The guy that played Marvin. Now, yes, my first horror crush of all time is Heather, beautiful face, Langenkamp. Absolutely love Heather Langenkamp so much. She's still beautiful to this day. Not just beautiful, but very talented. She does special effects now with her husband, who she met on one of these features, these movies that she does.
And she was recently in one of the American Horror Stories a year or two ago.
Was she? I have not.
Yeah, for like a couple episodes, I think. And also, here she is, a grown-up. She was just a high schooler 3 years ago. That means that this movie jumped forward in years by like, at least 8 or 9 years from the first movie.
And there's
even though it came out 4 years later.
The gray streak in her hair, just like Ash. Yeah. There's a character thing that I'll mention later. But the timeline in this is kind of like Friday the 13th, where like part 2 is a continuation of 1, but like from not too far away, and Jason's all of a sudden like really old. And then part 3, we're not going to go into. We'll talk about that one when we do that commentary. If we do that commentary, don't get excited, people. You probably already turned this off, and you're like, "God damn it!"
Well, it's almost like a podcast where we're still talking about.
Yeah, we're still talking about. So it's all
good.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about our commentary, where you can listen to it as a podcast and still know what's going on. If you had seen a movie and know the movie by heart. So, yeah.
So if this movie takes place in the early 90s, does that mean Freddy's Dead takes place at the end of the 90s, and then Freddy vs. Jason actually takes place in 2003 when it came out? Like, does the math work out that way?
No, it doesn't.
It might.
Well, she's like a consultant. So let's say that Nancy was a high school. She was in high school, so she graduated after Nightmare 1. Nightmare 2 didn't happen, let's say, because that's what this one is insinuating, because Jesse's never mentioned. There's a Jesse on the phone. It's not mentioned at all. Now, this one here would be, 3 years later, so now she's like, she skipped college, and now she's, what does she do for a living?
Consults.
Now that dude... That dude, I always got confused with the brother from just one of the guys. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know what that is.
Just one of the guys? You never saw Just One of the Guys?
Oh, you mean that movie where the girl is pretending to be a guy?
Yeah, you look so nice to that one. But I know that he was in class of 1999. There was, I can't remember the kid's name. That dude's name is Bradley Gregg. Not this one. This one is... This one... is Ken Sagos, or Sagos. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ken, if you're listening, I doubt it, but I don't know how to pronounce your name. Who plays Kincaid? Who is your favorite character in this, by the way, Nick?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I do like Kincaid a lot.
Yes.
Like, maybe it's because he's got a cool name. Maybe it's because, I like him best, I think.
Yes. There's Rodney Eastman, who plays Joey. That's the kid I was talking about earlier. See you, Joey. Kincaid was my, spirit animal. Now, you see that tear thing on his face? That means that he killed somebody in Gangland.
Great.
That's what the tear tattoo means, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, but I doubt that they knew that when they put it in the movie. They were like, yeah, that'll make him seem like a badass.
Don't forget, she's like 50 years old now. So
Right.
they already went to the future. No, I'm just kidding.
And why is Heather Langenkamp such a quintessential 80s girl? Like, look at her. Fantastic. But, I don't know. Look at that lady's necklace. Amazing. Looks like a bunch of stones. And here we are in the 80s where people just smoke every room that they walk into.
Another thing I miss about the 80s so much.
I don't.
I do. I love cigarettes. We're not going into my smoking habit that I used to have. All right, so Heather Langenkamp, the crazy thing is that, do you remember the show Just the 10 of Us?
Barely.
Okay.
I was a child in the 80s, so...
you were... Well, Just the 10 of Us was a spinoff of Growing Pains. And the funny thing is that Heather Langenkamp was one of the daughters in it. But also, so was Brooke Thies, who was in Dream Master. She's the cockroach girl.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other sisters was also in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think I just can't remember.
Well, I mean, when you've got 10 of them and like 8 movies, there's a chance of crossover here.
But they're all in the same sitcom? That's weird, dude.
Look at him on the. What are you on? The internet? No, he's on PDR.doc. Like, where's this information coming from?
That's a Word document.
Right, I know. Yeah. But back then they were just like, he gets the information from the computer. Nobody even knew what a computer was really doing in the house. They were like, it must be connected to some kind of network.
Okay, so now she's... You know what's weird about... it's all about money, too, which really sucks. But she was supposed to be in Nightmare 4. Well, she is in... Her character's in Nightmare 4. But that one's played by, Tuesday Night. Because they, kill her off and then bring in Alice.
Right.
It must... I can't remember if it was money or not. I'm not... Like I said, we're not going to sit here and just read off facts that you can find on IMDb.
Right. And in case you've never seen, 4 is kind of a sequel to this one. Like, pretty much...
It is, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then 5 is almost kind of... Well, I mean, and when I say sequel, I mean the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are almost like Final Fantasy games, where they don't connect to one another all the time. Yeah. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't.
You know what's really odd? Well, not... They really don't do this too much in... except for one movie. But... So you have all these characters in this movie. And by the end of it, you have survivors. In the next movie, killed right away.
I know. Always annoyed me, especially with Kincaid, because
he's a badass. Him a lot. Kincaid is definitely a badass in this movie. Mm-hmm. And here comes the little pig thing. There was something that was deleted, and they don't have the footage anymore. Something else about this dinner scene. We're really informative. And then there's going to be these people that are like, by the way, Nick. By the way, Jack.
Oh my God! Yeah, you were wrong about this movie. That pig was really alive.
That was alive.
He wasn't dead.
They tickled his testicles, and then okay. So
they shocked it with electricity to make it move.
This is Penis Freddy. That's gonna attack her. Snake Freddy, let's call it. But in the dream world, snakes mean penis.
Of course.
Yeah, well, you can see if you see the lines in the rug there. You see them. Go on. Sorry.
So, but of course, in dreams, everybody's always like, "Oh, that means penises. That means penises." Stupid Freud and Jung ruining dream interpretation forever. I actually love that one shot that we just completely spoke over, where the wall pops apart that as she's looking at it.
Yeah.
I actually love that. Always have. And I don't know what it is about it. I think it's that, like, knowing about movie making even when I was young, and even that, like, that's a hard fall on the ground.
I have home video, or I have camcorder footage of this. I got it from one of the special effects dudes. I got Nightmare. Really? Nightmare 3 and 4. I have video footage from the special effects dudes that were there. And
ridiculous.
It is, dude. The funniest thing is Rennie Harlan on part 4 during the waterbed scene. That scene is one of them too. That's on the tape. Whatever the water's moving, they go, more sloshing, and it's like ready camera, and sloshing. We were watching it one night with my friends, and we were joking around the whole night, going more sloshing.
Look at how great that looks like. Oh, fantastic! I was watching clips of this movie the other day, and I was watching clips of this the other day, and I still love it. I don't know.
Do you think that Heather Langenkamp's acting got better from part 1 to this one?
Yeah, fucking obviously. Like, there's some parts in the first one where her delivery is like so flat, and like she didn't know what she was doing. Probably she was a kid.
And you know what's really sad about the first one too? Her mom, like, a lot of people I know make fun of the mother's acting, and they say she's terrible. And that's what's her name, Ronnie Blakely. She was actually nominated for an Oscar prior to that.
Oops.
So she is a good actress, but I understand that I don't want to be held liable for stuff. So they insinuated that she may have been
allegedly
taken her role a little bit too seriously. Hiccup. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's how they excuse that sort of thing.
That was from the Nightmare book I read. Okay, so here's everybody in this. Okay, so here's the weird thing. I wanted to mention this before I forget. Jennifer Rubin, who is in this movie, okay, you'll see Jennifer Rubin in a moment. She's the one that not everybody, a lot of men and women, I'm not going to exclude women, have a crush on because she's kind of a badass, But, okay, so do you remember, have you seen the movie Bad Dreams? With Jennifer Rubin.
I vaguely remember it.
Okay, so Bad Dreams came out right after this, starring Jennifer Rubin, right there, as the lead girl. And that took place in a mental hospital, and she was part of a cult, and the cult dude set the house on fire, killed everybody, she escaped, and she later ended up in a mental institution, and then Freddy version of the cult leader kills off the people in the mental institution one by one, and they have meetings just like this in that movie. And when they were selling the movie, they called it Bad Dreams, and it really has nothing to really do about bad dreams. It's about this guy who is killing them off one by one.
Mm-hmm.
And it made no sense why they were trying to, obviously they were trying to get money out of the people that saw this and go, oh, this is more like just like that Freddy movie we saw. But the crazy thing is that what's his name is also in it. Bruce Abbott from Reanimator and Chainsaw from Dean Cameron from Summer School. But all right, so this group of people, the other kid, another tie-in. The one kid, I want to wait till he pops on the screen, so I'm not throwing everybody off here. The kid in a wheelchair, right there. The one that plays Will. I think his name is Ira Hayden. So, Night of the Creeps. Remember Night of the Creeps? Yes. Of course you remember. Yes,
obviously.
That. Well, you remember JC in Night of the Creeps was also... He wasn't wheelchair... Well, he was wheelchair bound, but he'd always walk around with crutches. And he talked just like this kid. In a way. Because Fred Decker was a big fan of Carpenter and Craven and everybody else. He named characters in that movie, Carpenter, Craven, etc. Even JC is John Carpenter. So, not saying that he stole the character, but he might have been, like, oh yeah, maybe we could do that. Possibly. That's just my thing. By the way, I love both movies. Night of the Creeps in this. Nick is fully aware of that.
Yeah, obviously. So. They're both fucking perfect movies.
I'm not saying he stole anything before anybody goes, hey, Fred Decker!
Look at all the shit in this movie that's like, this guy's a fucking nerd. This guy's a nerd. Lawrence Fishburne touches the light switches that are already down, and then the lights go off. I totally saw that. I saw it just now for the first time in my life. I don't know. I only saw that now. So if it's on IMDb, you can write it in there and put your name on it. If it's not on IMDb, but it probably is on IMDb anyway.
Dungeons and Dragons I was into before this movie with my brother. The two of us would play it.
Yeah.
We would play it while my parents were bowling. How about you, Nick? Did you ever get into that shit?
I played it when I was younger, and as I told you recently, which is why I guess you're bringing this up, is I found some nerds to play with it recently, because it's like in style now in the year 2019. When I say in style, I mean in geek style. And so far, I've played it twice and found it really, really nerdy and boring. Not exactly, maybe not my thing. I don't know.
You could totally
I played other role-playing games. I did. I played other role-playing games that I liked. In fact, there's a Vampire the Masquerade book over here on my desk from old shit, because I still love it. I love the lore of that stuff, but that has absolutely nothing to do with this movie. And it's not even Dungeons and Dragons in this movie. It's got some sort of other weird name, because if you notice, he's got like the shield thing up where he hides his rolls, and it says on the front the Wizard Master. So it's probably called like Wizards and something else, and I totally forgot it or just talked over it.
Oh, the actors in this movie are too good for this movie. You know that, right?
They really are. Yeah, I know. Like, look at this scene here. Look at the acting.
Craig Wasson.
The acting on their faces.
Craig Wasson was and is. He's a really good actor. And if you really get a chance to watch Body Double, I definitely recommend watching it. If you're a big Frankie Goes to Hollywood fan and Melanie Griffith's Butt fan, I highly recommend that movie. You're gonna
what it is? Is like all horror movies are silly to some degree, even the best of them. And when you actually have a good actor in a horror movie, it makes it so much better. Just look at how much Donald Pleasance makes Halloween. And way better than it probably would be without him. Even if they just got some guy who didn't care.
Robert Englund playing the Freddy Krueger role. He elevates the killer to a whole other level, because, before Freddy Krueger, you really didn't have anybody talking as far as killers. You had, Billy from Black Christmas, but he would just make obscene phone calls, and Jason didn't talk. Jason's mother did.
You say before Freddy, but even after Freddy, here we are 35 years after Freddy, and still, how many slashers do you watch, and how many of those slashers are still silent slashers that can't do the stuff he can? Yeah. Also, we're talking over the greatest scene in horror movie history. Like this right here, man. When I was a kid, I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
And you watch this even now, and it's like, wow, who the fuck dreamt this up? This whole marionette sequence and stuff. And, like, it's so perfect and weird and, like, bizarre to watch him, like, walking around like that, and he can't see it, and he's like, no, nothing's wrong. And the dude is a marionette by his own veins.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there is like, in all of horror, there are probably, like, this has to be a top five of all the things that happen in horror. I would also put the feast at the end of Day of the Dead when the dudes are getting their guts stripped out. I would put that with this. I don't even know what else would actually go on this list of absolute gory nonsense in horror movies, but this is possibly one of the best things ever.
Oh yeah, the cool thing is that it just showed you right there where he's just walking and nobody's noticing that, even though he went through a door invisibly. But like even the shots where the veins look fake, where they're like rotoscoped on there, it doesn't matter because it's a dream. That's what makes this
Right.
stuff really cool. Like it's the same thing. Remember the movie Stitches, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that where it looks Beetlejuice esque, but it's very CGI heavy at times. It doesn't matter because it's dream logic in a sense, even though it's not a dream. But you know what I mean. It's like humor clown. Like, anyway, sorry, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm trying to sound smart.
Okay. I was getting distracted by the movie, watching
So
him
was I.
wake everyone up, and like they all come to be an audience.
And
the one part I don't like about this whole sequence is actually when they show Freddy in the sky.
I was about to say that. I was about to say
You like
I
it?
like it. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because it's that thing where logically you don't expect to see somebody standing up on you know, you don't expect to see him above him.
Mm-hmm.
And
See, I think what I don't like about it is that the way that the veins are animated there are in that way that's like that weird animation way. You may remember that I had the same critique of Hellraiser, where the animation of the electrical waves passing over things look like, you know, animation from like He-Man or something. And I hate it when it looks like that. And I pick up the detail of that, like no matter where I see it. And when his veins just like dissipated around him, it looked like that sort of like fading away thing. And I think it just irks me personally. Either way, it's still perfect. No matter what I'm saying about it. Shut up, Nick. It's perfect. It is.
it's you notice we'll get into Freddy too, because he's not in this movie that much, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
People don't
But also,
Okay.
well, no, I was going to say, and yeah, when he is, he's also very different from how he is in the first two movies, because the first two movies get darker.
Well,
you know,
the first movie, yes, he's more like he is in the first one, except he's more comical in this. This is where the comedy bit started, but he wasn't too over the top and doing one-liners, you know? The second one, though, remember, he was even creepier than he was in the first one. With the, you know, you've got the body and I got the brain pulling off his head, you know, just exposing his brain. And he was more sinister. And he was talking about, you're all my children, and going after the kids in the barbecue. It's just nuts. But in this one, he's more playful, like he was in the first one, but a little bit more comical. And then, of course, the fourth one just escalates that further and further, and then
until we reach the
absolute. Well, it did Roadrunner and Coyote.
Exactly. I was going to just say Bugs Bunny. So we agree. He becomes a Warner Brothers cartoon by part 6.
Correct.
But even that, it's like every bit of the scale of Freddy is enjoyable, except. Like, I think the only thing I don't enjoy about him is when they go too realistically dark in the remake, where they make him like a child molester instead of a child killer. Like, it takes it to a different realm, and it's like that's a little bit too real. It's a little bit too not too dark, but like it doesn't mesh with the tone of the rest of the movies. Where like, okay. And like maybe I don't know. It's not as fantastical, I guess. I don't even know if I'm right, but I think that's my opinion on it.
It just felt very forced, and I think it would have been a better movie had they had him wrongly accused, and that's why he's getting revenge on the adults. That would have been great, but they you know they shit the bed, as they say.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean that could be a whole another discussion we have someday about the many things that upset me with that movie, because also directed by Samuel Bayer, who directed like all these music videos that are awesome, and I was like, man, maybe he'll make a cool movie, and he really did. And Jackie Earle Haley, who could have been a great Freddy, and kind of is in a way, like he does what fine with the material that's there, but he's not. You know, and I think that if they had made him more Robert Englund, like he could have done more like that type of portrayal, because he's an excellent actor, and we really haven't seen him much. I haven't seen much featuring him at all since that movie. Like this whole decade, I can't even think of anything else he's been in. I mean, of course, most famously, he was Rorschach in Watchmen, but
Right. Well, he had his moment, with little children and Rorschach
Right.
and before that was Bad News Bears. So, you know, and
Right.
what is it? Maniac Cop 3. He was in that. It's true.
I wonder what he's done lately. Now, I don't know. I'll have to look him up sometime after this
You know,
because I'm watching a movie now.
the other thing that happens in these Nightmare on Elm Street movies is Freddy has his sights set on certain people. Like you would expect in a normal slasher movie, this asshole here swinging his keys, Lawrence Fishburne, old nurse lady, they would all be killed. They would just be like incidental victims, or just dead meat,
Hmm.
or just to up the body count. But Freddy has his sights set on these kids, and that's it. Unless they fuck with them.
Yeah, and it's all sorts of. You're absolutely right. Like a lot of the things in this movie do that sort of atypical thing. Even the portrayal of the mental illness kids, they're not just like sort of like crazy. I would even compare these kids being like normal kids but with problems, sort of to I don't even know. I don't know
Well, I mean,
what comparison to like put it up against, but like I think it just you know, it keeps everyone likable except this douchebag over here. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna hit the kids. Then he walks away.
now this is
Uh,
another huge moment in horror as well. A lot of the kills in this movie are. Um, this is another scene that freaked me out with the Cavett and Zsa Zsa Gabor, where he just turns into Freddy.
right?
It's that same logic where, like, if you're watching something in your dream and then all of a sudden it just turns to like the most darkest fucking thing that
Oh
could
my
possibly
god,
happen, that's what happens here.
dude, that has been a recurring nightmare of mine since I was a kid. Just like watching something on TV, and then the people on TV like something happens that's not supposed to,
Oh,
and you can't stop it.
real quick, the
Be
shot.
what?
Sorry, the shot before that was Donald Pleasance in Alone in the Dark. That
Hmm.
was, if anybody wanted to know. But good, sorry.
Also, Zsa Zsa Gabor
Mm-hmm.
everywhere in the 80s. Like, why did I, as a child, know who she was so much? You know what I mean?
It's one of those
Like,
things that like we have Kim Kardashian now,
I
and
guess, but like
your
these
kid's gonna
50-year-old ladies?
yeah, but your kid is gonna be like, who's this chick with the big ass? And you're gonna be like, oh, she was a nobody, but like people made a big deal out of her, and she became a somebody.
I guess. Her and her sister both, and her sister was on Green Acres, which was on Nick at Night, which is how I was aware of it. So it all makes sense in some way,
So Nightmare on Elm
some
Street 3.
goddamn way. Yes.
And
So
this is where we're going to
right here.
mention. This is where we're going to mention another podcast. How many times do you
Yeah, you
watch this
can't
movie?
help it, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like, try not to mention them, but they are the greatest horror podcast. If you listen to Bloody Good Horror, this
But every
plays
time
at the
you,
beginning
yeah, every time
of
during their
their
main
movie.
feature, yeah,
Yep,
and every time I watch the movie now, this is all I hear.
I know.
It goes right. I'm like, thanks a lot, Bloody Good Horror, assholes.
I know. I've listened to like 400 episodes of theirs
See?
now. So I'm like, I've heard it more there than I'll ever hear it here. So I associate that phrase that he just said, welcome to Prime Time, bitch, with that podcast more than I do here. And if you want to hear a much better podcast than us, go listen to them.
Bloody good assholes.
But that would be us. Bloody Good Horror is that.
We'd be bloody bad assholes, and they would be bloody
Yeah.
good assholes.
Anyway, here's a
gosh.
funeral. That
Yeah.
guy standing on the side.
That's-
Oh, here's a creepy fucking nun.
Yeah, and this is where, I mean, I understand what they're going for in this. This is where the movie, well, not this movie, but the series begins to derail, where it's like, that's Freddy's mom, and she was banged by 100 maniacs, and one of them that looks just like Robert Englund is the one that won the race with his jizz. I mean, like, when they go into 4,
You are right. But
I'm right,
It's
yeah.
a terrible way to say it.
but it's true.
Yes.
But it happened. So it's like, okay, so 4, the cool thing I love about 4 is that it expands the dream world. Like, it's very it's very dark, but also vibrant and neon movie. It's very green, I'll say.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about it. 5 kind of strays off and becomes this kind of color palette again. 6, I'm not even going to go into.
6 is very orange.
Yeah.
Like
6 is like, just put a blindfold on. No,
and I like 6. 6 is stupid, but I love it. I like it.
Terrible. It really. And
it is, but I like it. I'm terrible, but I like it.
I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. Don't get me wrong, but it's a rough movie to get through. Every series has them. So
I have not rewatched it since 2001.
This is like. These are all the scenes that you forget that exist in this movie, where let's just have everybody be nice, and they're not going to bang, which is nice. I actually appreciate the non-banging of not Bill Maher and Heather Langenkamp. But these are scenes that like happen in the movie, but you completely, at least me, you forget that they exist, because when you think Dream Warriors, you're thinking, Marionette Kid and Dokken and all this other shit. You're not thinking Craig Wasson and Heather Langenkamp having this really serious conversation because the kids are dying off one by one, and they can't prove that it's Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's a scene that needs to be there. But go on, sorry.
Right, no, it's definitely overshadowed in your memory, but there are these scenes and not where they build up the lore of the movies, like you said. Like I totally forget that part with the nun is where they start talking about the whole Freddy's mom thing, and even in the other scene where we're making fun of him on the computer, he's obviously looking up Hypnocil, and I feel like the lore building adds so much to what these movies become. Even though, yeah, sure, it goes off the rails at one point, at many points, but especially like I can remember being a kid, being like 9 years old, and like talking to other kids about like where did Freddy come from, and like the same way that I watched my son talk about like stuff in Fortnite or Minecraft, talking about the lore of Minecraft as if I could even understand why. But it's the same thing to him that like Freddy was to kids in the 80s, where we would like be like, well, he's the son of 100 maniacs, like when you're a kid. That is amazing. And if I asked my wife right now about the lore, she'd be like, I love the backstory. And I know why, because the same thing. She went through it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I appreciate. Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, you got it.
Well, I appreciate that they kept up with the lore at least until the 6th movie, because then in the 7th it kind of goes off the end, and then it comes back in Freddy vs. Jason in ways that are important. Like that movie especially plays on the lore of both series in wonderful ways. Love Freddy vs. Jason, but yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
No, the cool thing. And we've said this before about horror movies, and don't worry, we're going to comment on the movie you're watching too, is that the less you know about the killer, the better. That's why like Halloween went off the rails too. Even though I really like a lot of the Halloween movies, you don't need him to be the brother. You don't need him to go after Jamie, because she's the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis or Laurie Strode, for those people who want to correct me, but you don't need all that shit, because then it doesn't become scary, and it gives too much backstory to, the villain. Like, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, you don't know who the fuck this guy is, except there's a little bit of story there, and they tell you, what happened, how he was burned and all that, and then when he comes in, and he's on the screen, you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? But as you become more comfortable with him, just like every horror movie, once you grow to know them, they become less scary with every sequel.
It depends, because I mean, in some movies it definitely does work on different levels. Where, like in Jason as a killer in the Friday movies, Friday the 13th movies, not the Friday movies, Jason is a sympathetic killer in a way. Mm-hmm. Because he's getting revenge for the people that led to the death of a mentally challenged child that was made fun of and drowned, right? And he's sympathetic, but he's sympathetic to a point. The point is, like, when he goes too far, when he's going after the last girl who doesn't deserve it because she didn't even break the rules that he set forth in the movie, you know? And that's what, like, one of the reasons that, like, Friday the 13th movies work really well. It's like, these guys broke the rules, so we know that they're all going to die. But then you start rooting for the final people who didn't break all the rules, you know? And that's pretty cool. It's a great dynamic because as a horror fan, you could sit there and enjoy the gratuitous gore that comes beforehand. And then you could still feel for the hero of the movie when they escape and Jason gets stopped, you know?
Right.
And I say stopped because let's be real, Jason don't die.
No.
But it depends. But when movies try and emulate that is where things kind of like get wonky. I would point at like the Hatchet movies. Where, like, why would I want to know anything about Victor Crowley? And they seem to tell me, like, even though they don't go into, like, the lore that they do for Freddy with Victor Crowley, it's, like, too much already. You know what I mean? And I don't feel the same way about Victor Crowley that I do about Jason, where it's like, oh, well, that's kind of sad, but hey, Jason, knock it off. Victor Crowley, it's just like, okay, are they going to stop this guy? You know, and then it goes on for literally five-ish movies. Is it 5 movies now, I think?
4.
4. Sorry to all the Hatchet fans.
It almost looked like Joey was taking a piss in a water cooler.
Yeah, it totally did.
So this scene here got a lot of attention as well, you know, with Topless Freddy coming up. Now, Rodney Eastman, you saw the I Spit on Your Grave remake. Of course you have. He's really good in that movie. Like, he plays a really good scumbag. He's a good actor. I really think he's a good actor.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah.
You're a really good scumbag.
Of
well,
course.
It's good if you're pretending.
He's pretending. Any actor is pretending. Well, most of them. Some of them not so much. Right now, we're actually in the dead middle of the movie. We're at 48 minutes and 30 seconds. There's actually 48 more minutes left to go.
Great fact.
Already. Oh, now that is
man.
really bad.
Look at that CGI from that early CGI. That's like, what were you guys thinking? You could not do what you want.
I bet you it looks good on VHS.
Exactly. maybe with a VHS filter on, it looked perfectly fine. And look, if you're in a wheelchair in a movie, you're gonna stand. That's happen. Jack rule number 56. Whenever you watch a movie, whenever I watch a movie with a person in a wheelchair, I think of you, and I'm like, yep. That guy's going to stand. See that animation right there is the stuff I can't stand. That, like, stuff that looks like lit up hand-drawn animation stuff. I can't stand seeing it in movies, and you see it in 80s movies so frequently. And now I'm a fucking gymnast.
You know, but...
does the exact same move as Mary Lou Retton does in Scrooged. I don't know if that's true, but
the cool thing about this movie is that these characters right here, this is where you're seeing... You're seeing a different side to them, which is cool, and you're starting. I mean, you even identify with these characters more.
Oh yeah,
than
I wish
a lot
I could
of slasher
do this
movies
with metal chairs. I was like, I wish I could do it.
But you know what I mean, though. Like all these characters, you start to know who they are individually. Like each person has their own thing, and you don't really get this kind of stuff in too many slasher movies. It's just like, oh, here's this guy who wants to fuck. Here's this guy who's, overprotective. Here's this guy who's cheating on his girlfriend. Here's the girlfriend. You know?
And you almost feel bad for them in a way, you know? Whereas, like, in Freddy's Dead, for instance, when everybody starts dreaming, it's just like, this guy's dreaming about how he wishes he was still playing Nintendo, you know? Yeah. And this guy's dreaming about how much he hates his hearing aid. Like, it's not the same. It's not presented the same way as what we just saw, where it's like, in real life everything sucks, but in my dream I can be who I want to be. That's what's really sad about it,
This is awesome. This tongue, Jesus.
Used to do it with fruit roll-ups because of this movie.
What, you tied your girlfriends up with?
No, make my tongue hang out and like tear it out and stuff.
Oh, I got you. Okay, you confused me for a second there.
every woman's body in the 80s looked like this. Like, I guess that's like what more was of what was in or something. I don't know.
There, every decade has a different set of boobs. I gotta say.
I guess that's like in style.
Now
This reminded me
is
when I was a kid of Temple of Doom.
oh yes, Temple of Doom. This is a cool shot. For like the time that it was filmed, and you know that it's green screen, but it's just it's really cool, and it works in the dream because it's a dream world, which is great. I love the tongue slivering. Oh my gosh, everything about this.
Nowadays, that'd be a bad CGI shot.
Oh yeah.
If this movie was made in the early 2000s, it would be a really bad CGI shot.
The other good thing about this movie is that it pops. It just keeps moving along. It moves the plot along, and it knows what you're here for. It has already set everybody up, and now shit's gonna get real. Characters are gonna die off very fast, in a sense.
Right.
And the cool thing is, you don't want to see any of these kids die. Honestly, I mean, is there a character in this that you didn't like, and you're like, no, I want them to die?
No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not like every other horror movie that you could possibly name, where they include the characters that are like, I want that fat guy to die, or right. I don't care if the musclehead dies, or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, it was like, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so one thing I mentioned before we started recording this commentary. So if you're just listening to this commentary, apologies. Listen to our show, asshole. But and don't worry, we're assholes too. But this movie in particular kind of changed horror a lot. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the killers started to talk more like Freddy, as I mentioned, with Bad Dreams especially.
Right.
Things just started to change into this, but then what had happened was there was a big change that happened where, as we mentioned, these characters are likable. You can associate yourself and see yourself in some of them. But then all of a sudden, Part 4 came along, and Part 4, where it did have okay characters, they killed off everybody in this movie that you're watching now. And then it's all about Freddy killing people. Mm-hmm. And even Halloween did the same thing with like Part 5 and Part 6, where people were cheering for Michael Myers to kill people. It was weird, right. The transition.
Well, it's because Freddy became such a huge star,
right.
Like if you're new to this world and you're still a kid, you don't understand. In the 80s, Freddy himself was a star outside of the movies.
Oh yeah.
He was a huge, like, iconic 80s thing. Well,
he became huge after this movie. It was after this one because, I mean, he was big. That's why they made the sequel. We know, but Freddy's Revenge kind of like left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. That's why they brought Wes Craven back to write the story for this, because him and Bob Shea had a falling out after the first one. Even speaking of Halloween, the transition from like seeing Halloween 4 opening night in the theater and Halloween 5 opening night, not even a year apart from each other. 4, everybody was terrified for Rachel and Jamie. 5, everybody was cheering Michael Myers on. And that was from 1988 to 1989. This movie here is 87. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was 88. So it was like right around that time when right when Dream Master came out, that's when Bad Dreams had just come out as well, and all these other horror films, slashers especially, where you just didn't care about the kids. It's all about the killer, and it's all about Pinhead, and it's all about Chucky, and it's it's the same shit.
Right. It's all about Leprechaun.
Leprechaun, right. It just, it changed. But you could point your finger at this movie and blame it and say, well, this is the one that changed everything for the worst. But for some people, that's the best. It's whatever your interpretation is and how you like what kind of movies you like, you know?
Right. I mean, for this series, as I said, like Freddy goes across the spectrum from goofball to serious dark killer,
Mm-hmm.
and like this movie is perfectly in the middle of all of that, and it gets the best of both.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have the absolute dark stuff, but you also have like so many of his best quotes and one-liners and jokes and shit come from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Playfully
and
psychotic.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it is the perfect balance of those two things, which I think I would say like every other movie in the whole series leans more to one direction or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, 1 and 2 a little bit darker, 4 and 5 a little bit goofier, 6 off the scale Bugs Bunny, and then 7 back to dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that remake is kind of back to dark as well. But Freddy vs. Jason was also very close to this one. Freddy vs. Jason might be closer to 4 or 5, where it's kind of like in the middle. Freddy's a great character in Freddy vs. Jason. I love it. Yeah, like you know, you can even see like financially. You could track the box office results on these movies. I brought up the box office mojo stuff over here, and it's like the first one and the second one did good, and then the third and the fourth did the most out of the 80s movies, making like nearly 50 million with parts 44.8 with part 3, 49.4 with part 4, and then part 5 comes out only like what, a year or two after part 4, and it only does half as much.
Yeah, well, and yeah, part 4 made more money than all the other Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which is weird. It's weird that it made more than this one, and
it came out at the height of the fad. Because like when I'm still talking about the Freddy stuff, man, there was the attempted TV show. He was in commercials. Freddy had a 900 number, call up and get to talk to Freddy. He was in the Fat Boys music video. It was a cultural thing.
Yeah, and that's when the Houdini had a anyway you got to swing it for part 5 video, where it's like you have the Houdini guys dancing with Freddy. Well, they weren't dancing with Freddy, but they were dressed as Freddy. You know,
right? And like, wasn't Freddy on Arsenio Hall and stuff like that?
Yeah, he was doing all that. The 1-900
There's all
numbers,
sorts of shit on YouTube.
Yeah, all
sorts of stuff on YouTube. Not to mention the Dokken music video, which for the song "Dream Warriors" that plays
rapping.
At the credits in this thing.
Freddie had a fucking album of songs.
Oh my God, you're right.
Rapping Freddy, like it really. And don't forget Freddy's Nightmares, which actually some of those shows are kind of awesome. It's a really cool show. If you ever get your hands on them, just watch them before bed. Kind of creepy. Some of them are really out there. And Brad Pitt's in one of them, by the way. In case if you didn't know.
Was he?
Yeah. He gets hit by a car in it. He's only in it for a little bit.
So if you want to see Brad Pitt get hit by a car,
come and get him, bitch.
Look at that.
That right there, come and get him, bitch, is exactly what you're talking about, where he cuts those words in Joey's chest. It's funny and menacing all at once.
Right.
Just like
exactly. Said. Darkly. Mm-hmm. I like it. Bill Maher driving a car.
That rhymed.
I know. That's why I said it. Also, so I was talking about the Dokken video briefly. If you love this movie, and I assume you do because you just watched more than half of it with us, 2 other pieces that I feel are like, things that go along with this movie. Mm-hmm. Watch the Dream Warriors video on YouTube, the song from Dokken, because the video is awesome. And wasn't it directed by the director of this movie? I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that, but it might have been. It's totally a side piece to this movie, though.
Oh, well, it was all over MTV at the time, too. And that's another thing I miss so much. And kids these days, and I sound like an old man saying that, are never going to
say that sentence.
Yeah, I know, but they're never going to experience that again. I don't think where MTV was a big deal in the 80s. It was huge. And when
kids have memes and stuff.
Yeah,
memes on Twitter.
A movie like this came out, and they had tie-ins to MTV. Like they would do a crossover promotion where Freddie would host the MTV or the videos for an hour.
Right.
And
or host a movie on a Friday night as it played.
Right. But the Dokken video was on every single hour, on the hour. and they had like contests with Freddy and all this other stuff. It was so cool. You don't get
here's
that.
the best thing in the fucking world.
John Saxon, yeah.
John Saxon. Anytime John Saxon comes into the movie just went up a full star. I don't care if it was already at 5 stars. You just hit 6.
I just watched Beyond Evil with John Saxon. It's a fun movie. That's all I'm going to say.
And John Saxon, still alive as of October, whatever today is, 2019.
It is October,
just in case if you thought he's dead.
October something.
Yes. As of October 2019. If he makes it to November, that's another one for you. John Saxon, still super cool someplace.
He's been in so many movies that he doesn't remember a lot of them that he's been in.
Dude, he's absolutely great. Oh, but I wanted to talk about the other side piece to this movie, which is the trailer, which,
oh my gosh, yes.
The trailer, teaser. Go look it up on YouTube. Is it the international trailer?
No, it's the teaser trailer. It's the actual
teaser trailer for this movie, where we should have mentioned it when the Popsicle House was on screen.
Oh yeah, we should have. But
we're not good. So
did I play that for you?
You've played it for me about 4,000 times.
But it's like every time
awesome.
It's that. That is one of the scariest jump scares. There's that one, the Texas Chainsaw 2 one, with Chop Top talking to
but we're talking about like the trailer. The trailer. Jump scare.
It has a jump scare. That's what I'm saying. It's one of the scariest moments where it's just like the Freddy rhyme, the 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, real slow, and then all of a sudden, boom! And if you have a tremendous sound system, it works best. Obviously, any jump scare would work best for that, but it's the way it's handled. You see the hand come up, but it's the bang after the hand comes up that's scary as shit. So definitely watch it. Put your headphones on while watching it. You'll see what we mean.
It's totally cool. Totally a cool teaser. And like, I would say one of the best horror teasers, just period, because it totally encapsulates what the movie is in its short little thing that you're going to see some scary shit. And I don't know. It's pretty cool.
So for kids right now, these are what they call payphones. And you would have to put a quarter into, and then it turned into 35 cents from inflation to call people.
Right.
Just to let them know.
Then we had to have calling cards. These are kind of like your credit cards, except we may call. We shouldn't explain this to the kids. Just let them Google it.
Heather Langenkamp kind of reminds me of Diane Franklin a little bit there. Some people listening will get that, not you, Nick.
No, I laughed because I was like, yeah, okay.
Diane Franklin's Frenchie from Better Off Dead and Amityville 2.
You don't want to push John Saxon.
No, you don't.
Damn.
He was in Enter the Dragon, Bill Maher, not Bill Maher.
Oh yeah, he was. Oh, and of course, Black Christmas. Christmas. Anytime that John Saxon also plays a police officer, another half star.
Oh yeah. He was kind of an asshole in Tenebrae. And he gets what he deserves in that. Have you ever seen Cannibal Apocalypse with John Saxon?
Did you ask me if I've seen it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. You should check it out sometime. I think
okay.
I think Severin might be releasing it soon. I think. But it's quite interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's quite an interesting role for John Saxon.
Even seeing him here, John Saxon, it reminds me of in Part 7 when he returns playing both himself, John Saxon, and later on the same character from this movie. And it's like, God damn, that takes that whole movie up another notch, where it's like when he suddenly becomes the sheriff for no reason and Heather Langenkamp just has to accept it. Totally cool. One thing that kind of is silly about this movie, but is also totally 80s, is when they just throw in like holy water is going to stop him. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because he's Satanic Panic. That's why.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an out. Like a part of it is just about the Satanic Panic thing. That they're just like, evil. Well, we have to combat that with religion. Like now, it's kind of silly when you see that, especially like look at the end of The Conjuring where that happens. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me when that happened? Oh, sorry if I just spoiled The Conjuring for you. You had 10 years to see it or whatever. Whatever, man. But you don't even care.
Oh, I care. But, I'm really upset now. Commentary over. I'm kidding.
No, but like that part where they're like, the power of Christ compels you. It's ridiculous. Outside of almost any movie, except for like movies that actually are dealing with like straight up Catholicism and lore, like The Exorcist or I'm trying to think of that horrible found footage movie from a couple of years ago, The Devil Inside, I think it was called. Mm-hmm. No. Was it The Devil Inside?
That was The Devil Inside, yeah, the thing with the website at the end to find out how to end it. Or something. I never watched it.
Spoiling The Devil Inside, Jack.
Who cares?
What the hell?
Nobody remembered it existed. Even you forgot it. And you saw it.
Excellent point.
Yeah. There are movies I want to mention that came out the same year as this, which is 1987. Summertime, Lost Boys. That was a great... Dude, 87 was a really good year for horror, by the way. Evil Dead 2, the first Hellraiser... Creepshow 2, Prince of Darkness, Monster Squad, Dolls, Dario Argento's Opera, Return to Horror High, Bad Taste, Whisper to a Scream, The Believers, Video Dead, Slumber Party Massacre 2, Angel Heart, The Stepfather, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, Blood Rage, Night Screams, Slaughterhouse, Munchies, Doom Asylum, Rock and Roll Nightmare, Predator, Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night Motherfucking 2, The Hidden, Flowers in the Attic, Witches of Eastwick. Dude, it's so...
I know.
It's... There's so many. And, like...
Dude,
Doom Asylum.
You would have had to. How much would you have had to pay to see all those in the theater at the time? Like, thankfully, videotape was coming around at the time.
Right.
and think about now how much that played into horror becoming a part of videotape culture, right? Mm-hmm. And renting videos and renting the scary movies because there was such an abundance of them.
There were so many more. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like this was obviously a major release from New Line because. New Line, as everybody knows, and it's ad nauseum, it's known as the house that Freddy built. Like, if it wasn't for Nightmare on Elm Street, New Line Cinema would not be the New Line Cinema that they became. It's just a fact. There is the Nightmare on Elm Street book, which is phenomenal. It's I can't remember Tommy. Damn it, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, Tommy, but his book is really great, and it tells you about Bob Shea, buying rights to distributing Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Evil Dead. There's like the Big Bad Monster Eater or something like junky movie. It's terrible. Don't watch it. Mm-hmm. But like this was Nightmare on Elm Street was the thing that catapulted them to. It's kind of like how if it wasn't for Quentin Tarantino doing Reservoir Dogs, you wouldn't have had Miramax, for better and worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wes Craven, he changed horror 3 times. He changed horror with Last House on the Left. He changed horror with Nightmare on Elm Street. And he changed horror with Scream.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people talk shit about Wes Craven. Not too many, but people that are just like, did you see My Soul to Take? Well, yeah, I did. It's a bad movie, but it's not as bad as everybody made out to be. But he really changed horror a lot. And people just think Wes Craven, Nightmare on Elm Street. And I understand, Scream, they had to kind of persuade him to do Scream. But if it wasn't for him doing that, then I don't think it would have been as big as a hit as it was, honestly. Because he brought the Nightmare on Elm Street shine to it, if you will. You know?
Yeah, and look at how many movies for the next 5 years were all self-aware slasher type movies.
Oh yeah.
Or those with meta commentary on horror movies themselves.
Oh yeah. Now this is really cool how it goes right back to the beginning of the movie with the feathers, bringing it back to. Oh, okay. So the whole movie was a dream, and
the Dokken, or is it Saxon? What band did we say that this was? Oh no,
Dokken.
was it Dokken or is it Saxon?
John Saxon doesn't sing.
No, Saxon is a band from the 80s.
No, don't laugh too hard. Okay, so John
Dokken.
Saxon. John
Saxon was a band in the 80s. God damn it.
He was an actor in the 80s too. Okay, so this is really jarring too when you see it for the first time in 1987, where it's like, oh wow, something bad's gonna happen, but this here dude, the whole audience, it floored them. They were laughing so hard. It was like the funniest bit in the funniest comedy ever made. Like, it was perfect. And it's another thing that's it is funny to look at now, but at the time, and in a lot of horror movies, they have you're laughing because you're scared, and this is the exact feeling of that, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to sound smart here. Mm-hmm.
No, but I understand what you're saying. The roller coaster feeling of both scared and excited at the same time.
Yes. Yep. That feeling where you have to pee when you go down a very steep hill.
Mm-hmm. Sure. That must be it.
Now, this part with Jennifer Rubin, where the eyeballs and the arms, man, with the needles, Jesus Christ. But, another thing, too. So, a lot of the gore happens in the beginning, but it doesn't continue towards the end of this for the kills. Like, the way that different characters are dispatched, it's all off-screen. And very, very little, if any, blood is shown. You don't really see anything. When she gets stabbed here, and then when D&D Kid gets stabbed, it's just like, okay, that's it. They got stabbed. There's nothing else. Now, I wonder...
Yeah. I actually felt like he should have gone earlier in the movie, the D&D Kid, because his whole thing is so kind of goofy, especially compared to this part here where it's like,
but
she's walking into another movie and stuff, and like his is just so simple, and you know that he's not going to make it. You know what I mean?
I'm wondering if that bum walking past there was kind of a Wes Craven-ism, because that's what he said that had created the character Freddy Krueger when he was a kid and looking out the window, and it was like a guy outside with the hat and a long coat like that. I wonder if that was what that was. I just thought about that for the first time all these years. Wow. Let's get high. And I'm wondering if not eyeballs in the arms. My apologies. It looks like what are they? Mouths? Yeah.
little hungry mouths. Hungry for the drugs.
I don't know why I said eyeballs. Ain't no
Jack. The scene is so perfectly lit. It looks like beautiful. Some sort of cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
The haircut, and then it's going to go away. And this is another scene where the audience was cheering. They were cheering for the kid when he zaps Freddy. They were actually cheering for him. You don't get that anymore. They cheer for the killer, damn it.
Let me think.
Oh, Siri.
No, I can't think of anything.
Siri heard me. My apologies. My apologies, people.
Now, I mentioned the video game briefly. Did you ever play the Nintendo game?
No, I have not.
Terrible game. I actually played it on my YouTube channel years ago when I still was doing the horror retro gaming thing, which I wish I was still doing, but YouTube They don't. That once YouTube took away monetization, I was like, "Fuck it! I'm not going to give them my content so they can make money on the ads off it. Fuck them." So anyway, but we're totally on Spotify, where we allow Spotify to make money off our content. Whatever. I'm a hypocrite. So anyway, the game though is partially based on like it's one of those terrible LJN games. From the 90s, where LJN is this company that made a bunch of horrible adaptations. And I feel like I shouldn't be talking over this part. Let's just talk about this chair. Getting killed by a chair. And then it's a little bit cringy, but it's still okay. And you want him to win?
You do?
I don't know.
I mean, you don't anymore. Like, after watching this for the, 800th time, you're kind of like, all right, kill this little bastard.
Right. But I was going to say that a lot of the stuff in the video game is based on mostly part 3, even though it barely references things properly. Mm-hmm. It takes elements of this movie, including Freddy shooting out his tongue and stupid shit like that. Having to find his bones,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the bones attacking him like a Sinbad movie.
I think there's also a snake in the video game, if I'm right, a Freddy's snake, but I can't remember.
Oh, God. I can only imagine what that looked like with 8-bit. The one thing I'll definitely say to go purchase, if you're into score, is the score to all of these movies. Well, mostly 1 through 5. If you just listen to the score from 5, and if you have, let's say you have your phone or whatever you listen to on shuffle, and you hear it, you're gonna go, man, what is this? It's really good and creepy. It's one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Always happens. Man, if we were doing Nightmare on Elm Street 1 right now, I'd be dropping knowledge like you wouldn't believe, but I don't need to, because people already know everything about it.
Right.
They know everything they want to know about this. They're just listening to us two assholes talk about it here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Now, this is the cool thing. You got Kincaid as the badass. You got Nancy as the old woman.
Right.
The newly anointed old woman. You have, Patricia Arquette playing Kirsten, and you still have Joey left. Now, Craig Wasson and John Saxon are trying to dig up the bones of Freddy. Now, you know what's weird, though? Remember part 4, where Freddy comes back to life from a dog pissing on him?
Yeah.
Seriously. I know it's a dream. Yeah. It's a dream. Come on. Come on.
I recall.
What was Kincaid thinking? That his dog had to pee on Freddy to bring him back. I don't know. But the cool thing is that it's in this junkyard, which is, the Kincaid death is really... that scene is really cool. The way it's lit. One thing I'll say, man, Rennie Harlan, dude, the guy can light a film. Like, how you were just mentioning the thing with the heroin needles a little bit ago with the lighting of that. The whole, almost, not the whole, but I'd say about 65% of Dream Master is like that. It's beautiful. That is not Christine.
Yeah, didn't we have a conversation about that? Because somebody once wrote into us about how that was Christine, and we were like, why are we even talking about this? I recall that. I don't know if that was on this podcast or the other one. This isn't a podcast, it's commentary, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Where, I don't know, was some stupid discussion over it.
I mean, sure, it could be like a homage or a nod, but it's... You can't... I'm not getting into copyright. Come on. We're talking about Dream Warriors, for God's sake.
He's like, what are you messing in the car with? We got stuff to do.
Yep.
Doesn't it feel like John Saxon at any moment could fucking kill you?
Yes.
Like you're going to say the wrong thing to him and he's just going to take out his belt.
Yep. It really does. You know, you go from like, I mean, he has a huge character arc from Nightmare 1 to this one, where he's just like he can't believe what he saw, where his wife's corpse got sucked into a bed.
Yeah.
There's a now this is a beautiful set in Boiler Room. This is absolutely gorgeous.
Of course, a big part of Freddy lore too.
Yes. Well, that's the danger spot, you know. For kids, you go to the basement. You're afraid of going to the basement because that's where all the bad things happen.
Right.
And House by the Cemetery. All the bad things happen in the basement. There's tons of... I'm not going to go through all the basement movies. Don't look at the basement.
And does that bother you what he just did, making a high-pitched noise with his nail things?
No.
Because, like, there's so many people that are like, I hate that. Nails across the chalkboard. And I've always been like, that doesn't even affect me at all.
That's what he does in the first one.
I know. But there are people, you know...
That's his trademark.
I know it is. I have seen the films.
Do you know who plays Freddy Krueger?
Why, yes. Jackie Earle Harley.
Oh God. So speaking of Robert Englund, I mean,
kids love an acrobat. I'm sorry, I had to say that. Continue.
You gotta love a man who embraces his role and continuously does it, no matter how bad the movies get. And that's what Robert Englund does. He's just he knows he's going to get paid. So
right. Same thing with Donald Pleasance in Halloween 6.
Yeah, but they give it their all. They really do.
Absolutely.
They're absolute professionals. And you can't I just watched The Mangler with Robert Englund, and he really he worked that role. Like, he wore those metal legs, and they banged his legs all up, but he went for it because he was into the role. Yeah. I love this. Right, it looks... That's the Freddy that's missing from the rest of the series, right there. The self-mutilation stuff.
Could be.
Where, cutting off his fingers and the ooze coming out. Those are in part 4, but one of them in part 4 was Linnea Quigley naked. The breasts that are pressing against the body. That's Linnea. That's Linnea. Yeah, just in case you didn't. She was Steve Johnson's woman at the time. Mm-hmm. So of course she was like, "Sure, Steve, I'll do that for you." It was her and 2 guys. They were wearing bodysuits. She wasn't actually naked. It was bodysuits with purple breast nipples, so it would appear through the giant. I'm not going. Okay, just watch part 4. You'll see what I mean. So, John Saxon.
Look, it's Herbie. They're making an homage to Herbie the supercar or whatever.
So John Saxon, man, it's really a shame that he was in so many movies from 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe some 90s, but he kind of vanished. But he still appears here and there, but you hardly hear much from him. He kind of reminds me of the guy from Star Trek. I can't remember his name. The one that's in Moontrap. Whatever. Kind of has the same face. So... Hang on a second. I'm just I'm in awe with these cars falling. There it is.
You know what's kind of weird is that you don't see real cars falling in movies anymore.
No, it's all CGI.
Now it's all CGI.
Here comes the Sinbad movie.
Yeah, I know.
And it's fine because it's dream logic. It's okay.
Kinda. I mean, like nowadays they could probably do this better. Like,
But it would
I
still
thought
look fake.
no, man. If you look at like Game of Thrones, specifically in, I think it was season 4 or 5 when they find the house. Oh, fuck. I don't remember any of the names of it. Okay, they go to find a three-eyed raven, and his house is protected by these skeletons that are popping out of the earth of them. Fucking fantastic scene of skeletons. I've never seen skeletons like that before, but you're right. It probably look like shit because they're probably only going to make one good skeleton scene, and it was that. I'll send you the video later.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can I just say that skeletons make me laugh? They don't scare me. I think they're very funny. They're almost.
Oh no, I'm the other
Kermit-like.
way. See, like ever since I was a kid, and I think it's because of that, the Mickey Mouse cartoon, the old Disney cartoon with the dancing skeletons that I forgot the name of
Oh,
right
really?
now.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, and ever since then, I've just been like, oh, skeletons. I'm okay now as an adult. It's not like one of my top scary things or whatever, but I still have a reaction to them that's like, man, skeletons, but not that scary. When I was a kid, I was so afraid of scared skeletons, I couldn't like look at them. I had to cover my eyes.
This is it's almost kind of like a fun house. The Freddy Fun House. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really goddamn cool. This is really cool effects for 1987.
Oh, it's literally just called the skeleton dance, by the way.
Oh, is that the?
Google it.
No, I'm not gonna Google it.
No, I meant
Dream
the
Warriors.
kids at home.
Ah, they're watching Dream Warriors. Of course, yeah, that gets the big applause in the theater, but to no avail because when John Saxon appears, it's like, oh. See, there goes corny stuff. we forgive it though. At least I do. Here it comes.
I always thought that this was kind of ridiculous because they're kind of celebrating, but I'm like, no, they're still in the dream.
Yeah.
It's over. No, it's not.
Yeah,
You'd not be in this room.
Here comes Magical Saxon.
Oh man, the Jedi ghost of.
That's how John Saxon appeared at all the conventions.
I wouldn't doubt. Oh man,
this is so cool. It's really cool how they. I mean, Nancy is like a pretty big deal, and for them to just kill her off and throw her aside during this corny ass moment that you know is going to go wrong.
I know. It's like everybody's like still happy, and it's like, guys, you're in the dream. You're in danger. Oh no, you got me.
Yeah, it got me.
Man. You see, like a shot like that whole sequence where it's like it shows Freddy and his hand stabbing into her, but then it still shows John Saxon as the head for a second, and then it goes to him. You know, stuff like that reminds me of what was in the It movie, the movie It. I only saw the first one; I haven't seen the second one yet. But where, you know, things just are so perfectly nightmarishly captured in It. And I'm saying it meaning It, the movie It. You know what I'm talking about? Like the scene at the library. I think that like that would be a perfect Nightmare on Elm Street scene where the dude is getting chased by, you know, the headless zombie child or whatever. If he just woke up at the end like he fell asleep on a book, it's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
There's a lot of Stephen.
Power of Christ compels you. Sorry.
Speaking of Tarantino from earlier, he actually said that Stephen King's It was his version of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not 100% wrong. I'd say he's 50% right on it.
It's that same surreal type of otherworldly, this is impossible horror.
Yeah. This creature is going to go after the kids in the neighborhood. That's
Right.
exactly what happens. But they're younger than that. But yeah, it sucks that Heather Langenkamp's dead.
Dead until the 7th movie
But
when she is herself.
Imagine if they hadn't killed her and she appeared in like The Dream Child. It could have catapulted that.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think that she should have stayed on in the series. And I've thought that literally since I first saw these movies. I was like, oh, but it would have made more sense if she was just in this one in the next. You know what I mean?
Right. But no, we got to bury her and have this guy who's really going to lose his hair in a couple days.
Yeah.
And here comes the, just in case you didn't get it, you dumbass viewer.
Right.
Amanda Kruger, she's his mother. And the line is like, it should have had like a subtitle at the bottom. Hey, dumbass.
Bing! Big arrow pops out.
In case you didn't get it. Yeah, have the arrows pointing right there, Amanda Kruger. There it is.
And like, why? Why?
Now, oh look, it's Christmas. This is a Christmas movie.
Oh shit!
In a way, this is our
Start
Christmas gift to our wonderful listeners. That's kind of why we wanted to do this. Instead of giving you another show of us going Halloween treats and stuff, we're giving you a commentary, a damn good one. Light comes on now, and that means that Bill Maher died. Now we're going through the credits here, so we're not going to mention everybody's name. You can read them. But this was absolutely fun. Nick, did you have fun?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I love this movie. Don't you love this movie?
Of course. And we're talking over a great song. We shouldn't talk now. No,
I know. We really are. I love this song, and I think it's one of my favorite songs from a horror movie, period.
I missed they had a screening of this with Chuck Russell in Philly, and Dokken played this live.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But, yeah, it's okay. I'd rather see it back in 87. So, yes, we got 3 minutes and 14 seconds left, so...
No, I mean, thank you for listening. If you like this, please let us know that we should do more. If you just discovered us because of this, please check us out, Jack and Nick Horror Show on YouTube, Spotify, at Jack and Nick Horror Show on Twitter. Is that our Twitter? I think so. Well, look us up.
Yeah, we're
Facebook.
all over. We're on Facebook and stuff. What is it? Tweet Jack Built, and you are at New Jersey Nick on Twitter. Yeah, this was a blast, and yeah, we are planning to do another one, but we ain't saying when. So if you guys and girls enjoyed this and you want us to do more, please let us know. But for now, Nick,
yeah,
do you have any final words for the final 2 minutes and 20 seconds? That's a good one.
No, I'm good. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Do you have a hashtag for people that listen to our commentary?
I definitely don't.
You suck.
I should have tried harder.
I have to mention a key grip in this. Peter Lloyd Boyd. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Peter Lloyd.
Yes. It was Lloyd Boy or something. You ever read these names and then you see like the dumbest name and you're like, who did that?
You mean like his mom?
Michael Bigelow. Dream Quest Images. I'm not going to make a deuce joke. I'm just trying to see if there's any names on this that became like a big deal. Greg Canham.
We're still doing the commentary.
Really good. Yeah, he's a really good makeup effects dude. Look him up. He's created some of the great stuff, as well as Kevin Yeager. All right, I'll shut the hell up. Oh, Mark Sostrom. He is also a huge deal in the effects world. Well, was. I mean, everybody does CGI nowadays.
He's dead, so...
No, he's not.
He's not?
No.
I made it up either way. Don't listen to me.
You're like 20 years, 30 years in advance. Stop it. You're aging this commentary like Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street
From
to
one
Dream
to the other.
Warriors.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, man. Well,
here we are, still talking.
Well, we're done. We got to talk until the end of this movie. So I mean, we
Happy
got
Halloween. Happy Halloween.
There it is, Wes Craven. Rest in peace. All right.
Arrivederci.
Oh, Into the Fire. Wes Dawkins. You were right.
I know.
Charles Bernstein. No, All right, goodbye.